Okay, hello everybody. This is my second lesson on Unity machine learning. And so in this lesson I'd like to get more into Unity. In the last lesson we talked about setting up the Python environment. So I'll just start by noting this is the Unity screen, and it's certainly going to help you if you're familiar with Unity. Unity is a powerful game engine, and it's almost like a language itself. You really do have to learn what all these panels mean and how to access everything, what a prefab is, and how to use this assets and how to use the inspector. So it is worth taking the time to learn all this. I took a course in Udemy. I'm not paid by anyone to advertise this, but I think this is a good course. It's complete Unity developer created by Ben, Tristan, Rick Davidson. So with that out of the way, we're going to go to Unity, and you have to install it if you don't have it. And what you want to do is open this Unity SDK, and you will find that in this ML agents. Here it is. So if you just go to here in Unity, if you say File, Open Project, and then this is the project you're going to open, Unity SDK, just that folder. And then you'll have this. And what they've done is provided us with a lot of tutorials, well, examples, a lot of examples. And the first example I'll show you is this 3D ball. And actually, if you do web search, this is one that the Unity guys seem to talk about a lot. So once you open Unity SDK, you're going to go here, Scenes, and under ML Agents, Examples 3D Ball Scenes, and you're going to open this 3D ball, and then you'll see what I see here. And what you see here is something called Ball 3D Academy, which we'll be talking about a little, and then you'll see like 20 games. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Can I undo it? Yeah, I can undo it. Okay, so each game has a platform and a ball. So here's game 13. Let's open a scene window. Scene tab. Add tab. It's not important, but basically there's 12 games and each one has a platform and a ball. Okay, before we begin this process, there's some configuration that we have to do. And that's going to be in their Edit, Project Settings, Player. And under Resolution, I believe you disable, I think this is good, Run in Background is good. Under Other Settings, we do Net4 equivalent. And here we want to type Enable TensorFlow. And we want to type allow unsafe code, which sounds bad, but I think you got to do it. It's probably not going to kill you. I found that all these settings were fine. I did have to type in this enable TensorFlow, and I did have to type in this unsafe code. So that was the only changes that I had to make. Okay, let's go under Ball 3D Academy. Now here, what we'll see is this button, Control. This button is really important. It means if control is not checked, it means Unity is just doing its own thing in this window. If this button is checked, it means that the external Python environment will control Unity, and that's how machine learning is going to happen. So let me show you that. So first we'll start with the button unchecked, and I'm not sure if it matters what I type here, so I'll just leave that the way it is. Oh, I will note that there's this idea of a brain. So a brain is the thing that's going to control the physical platform in this case. And if we go here under brains, you can see there's different kinds of brains. Okay, so what I'm going to do is over in prefabs, I'm going to choose this is what you would see, and then you open it, and then you'll see platform. And I'm going to choose platform, and I'm going to set what? Yeah, here, I guess. Here I'm going to set the brain. So let's set that brain to 3D player. Okay, so what this means is that the player, that's me actually, I'm going to control the platform. And since under Ball 3D Academy we chose no control, the editor is just going to work as a standalone. So let's hit run and see what happens. So when I hit run, you see these balls dropping and they sort of fall off. By the way, the top four are different. That's because I messed with the prefab. So ideally, all of these would be the same. So just ignore the top four. Okay, and now I'm going to use the cursor keys. And what you can see is that I'm controlling these bottom 8. Okay, and the idea of this game is to keep the ball from falling off the platform. And you can see I'm not very good at it. I guess you want a very small tilt. You don't want a large tilt. Maybe if I had a joystick I could do a little better. Also, I think the ball is dropping in different positions for each platform, so it's not like one solution could fix them all. Okay, so that's what we do if we're humans. Okay. So that was fun. Now we're going to change our brain. I know that sounds a little weird. So let's go back to our prefab platform. And instead of using the player brain, we're going to use 3D ball learning. So this is machine learning. And if we look at this, over here it says model. So the brain is like a neural network, if you're familiar with neural networks. It's like the structure of a neural network. And this model is telling us the parameter values for that neural network. So that is found in their TF model. So here I have a couple models, and I could use any one of these models in this brain. So what they've done, whoops, let's go back to our brain. This guy is the one I want. They've provided us with a pre-trained model. They've already trained it, got the parameter values, and that's here under 3D ball learning. So if I use this model, I'm still going to use it under control, not control. So what that means is this editor is standalone. It's not learning right now. It's just going to use the pre-trained model. So let's hit play and see what happens. Very nice. So it's controlling the platforms. You can see it has a high rate of control. It's pretty smooth. It's pretty nice. All the balls are on the platforms. So the pre-trained model is doing a great job. Well, okay, that's great. Obviously, we're not going to use a pre-trained model. So now let's try training a model. That'll be fun, right? So let's do that. So all I'm going to do is under control, I'm going to click that. So if I hit play now, what's going to happen? So what you see is it gives me an error, and the error is Unity agents exception. The communicator was unable to connect. Please make sure the external process is ready to accept communication with Unity. So what that means is that after I hit control, now Unity is looking for an external process to control it. And since we haven't activated that, it's not happy. By the way, all this is somewhat documented. I mean, I don't think the documentation is great, but let's look at the documentation that they provide us. So Unity machine learning. We did this before. And let's go here. And we're going to go to GitHub. And document, whoops, sorry. Didn't want that. Documentation. And so last time we did installation, and now let's look at the basic guide. So here's the basic guide. They tell us how to open the Unity SDK, we did that. How to configure these player settings, we did that. I forgot to tell you about this, setting up TensorSharp. This is really pretty easy. You're going to click this button, and it's going to download this plugin, and then you're just going to click on the plugin, and that'll install itself, and that'll be good. So I really had no trouble with that. Here's this edit, enable TensorFlow. I told you about that, and in addition to that, I said you want to check unsafe code, allow unsafe code. That'll work fine for me. And then I did tell you about pre-trained models. I don't think their instructions are great here actually, so I think my instructions are more clear. We updated the platform prefab, that's what we did. So there's 12 platforms. The reason they use 12 platforms is because they can train faster. Instead of just training one platform, they train 12 at once. And by updating the prefab, you can update all 12 at once. And so we did the 3D ball learning brain. Each platform now contains 3D ball learning as a brain. If that's true. So if you go to platform here, this is game 11, and here's the brain. And if you go to game 23, there's the brain. So if you're familiar with Unity, this is a prefab, and each platform here is sort of an instance of that prefab. And so by changing the prefab, we change everything at once. This is the models. I showed you how you load a model from the TF models, and theirs looks a little wilder than mine, but that's the basic idea. I did show you this. And now let's do training. So the key to training is that we'll use the learning and make sure the control checkbox is selected. This broadcast hub bit, did I do that? Let's go back to our game academy. I guess I did. I put the learning brain here in broadcast hub. So that's fine. And I click control. Okay. This next part I had a little trouble with. I don't think the documentation is that clear. So let me show you how we train it. So we're going to go back to our command window. And if you remember in the last lesson, we did all that complex things to configure our environment. We have this ML agents working, and a bit of a hassle. And here's where that's going to pay off. So first let me type the command mlagents-learn. By the way, it's going to be important to be in the correct directory here. So here's my master, and I'm under this directory right here. And the reason that's important is because in the next step we're going to issue a command that relies on this config directory. And if you're not in the right directory, that's not going to work. So first I'm going to hit ml agents learn, ml agents, ml agents dash learn, agents dash learn. Okay, so if this works like it should, you should see a nice picture, and then you know your software is configured in a correct way. So let's just wait a moment and see if the nice picture comes up. Ah, there's a nice picture. So if you get this, you're kind of in business. This is sort of the main training command. Okay, so now I'm going to issue this command. It's a little more complicated, but what it's saying is, here's that training program. Here's a config thing. I'm not exactly sure what that does. Here's where the data is going to be stored. I'll make this 3. You can choose that. This is saying where does the output go? Run ID. And then this tells it to train. And by the way, I told you you have to be in the correct directory, and the reason is it's calling this config file. This, by the way, command you can copy from here. So this is a good command. And I'll note that I've seen other videos on this where they build an app and then they train the app. For now, I prefer to train it in the editor because it takes like 5 minutes to build the app, and I don't see how that would be a good workflow. 5 minutes to build the app, not good. Okay, so now we're sitting here waiting, and it says start training by pressing the play button in the Unity editor. So this is exciting. So let's go back to our Unity editor and hit play. So essentially this is a connection between our Python and our Unity editor. And that's really the heart of this. That's why we had to do all this work to do the plugins and everything so that this connection was made. And it's not a standard connection. It's something that they kind of got to work. Okay, so what we're seeing now is this model is pretty stupid when it starts, so it's not doing very well, right? All these balls are just falling all over the place. But here's training steps, and you can see here's the mean reward, 3.7, and that's sort of an assessment of how good it's doing. So it's 3.7, and then it trained a little more, and that's 3.9, and then this number is just going to keep getting better over time. And so as we watch it, hopefully it gets better and better. And that's training. So this is exciting, right? Okay, well, this takes a while, obviously. It could take 15 minutes, depending on how well you want to train it. So, the longer we sit here, the better that guy's going to do. And I've already done this, so instead of wasting time here, let me just show you the next steps. So when I hit this play button, Unity will stop. Maybe. Yeah, there it goes. And this guy will say, hey, it stopped. And then this guy will save this file. This, you can see it says cub30 3D learning.bytes. So that's the trained model. So now if I go to Windows Explorer, I can find that trained model. So it's cub30. So if I search in the directory, there it is, cub30. That's the model that I just trained. So now we can go back to Unity. And if we go to Project, TF Models, I can drag this model in. Actually, I probably shouldn't have done that because it has the same name as that was kind of dumb. What I probably should do is rename this. So this will be experiment 4 or whatever. And now I'll drag it in. Because I don't want it to overwrite that nice model in Unity. Maybe I should delete, let's see. This was the trained, and see this is, I'll get rid of that. Okay, so what you see is we've trained the model and we've dragged it into Unity. And I've already trained 2 models. This is the first model, which I ran for like 3 minutes. And this is the next one, which I ran for like 15 minutes. So let's see how that goes. So I'm going to go back to Academy. I'm going to turn control off. So again, we're a standalone editor. And then I'm going to go here to prefabs, choose the platform. Here's our brain. And this is the model. So instead of using this model, which is a brain. Instead of using this model, which is the trained model, I'm going to use the one that I used after like 3 minutes. And then I'll hit play. And you can see it kind of does something, but not too well, right? And then here's the model after like 15 minutes. Here's our brain, and here's our model. So let's see how that did. Oh, that's a lot better. Actually, the ones on the top are the pre-trained model, I believe. And the ones on the bottom are the ones I trained after 15 minutes. So you can even see that the pre-trained model is probably better than mine. This is moving a little more fast and a little more fluid, I think. Okay, so what we've learned here is how to work with Unity, what a brain is, how to put these models into the brain, how to train the models, and then how to see that the model is working. So we've learned all that. So if you kept up, if you've gotten something out of it, that's great. And thanks for watching.